Awesome. Good morning, everyone. It is episode 3 of season 4 of Life After Ball. And today we have a new guest, Adriel. Hi, Adriel. How you doing?
Doing good in yourself?
I'm doing great. Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us today and being willing to share your story. I do think that transition stage is a very difficult one, and hearing stories of other athletes that went through it is always very helpful. So if you would like to share about yourself, where you went to school, what has been your basketball career so far, that could be how we get started.
All right. Well, I played ball at University of Florida, 99 and 2001. I was on the team that lost to Michigan State in the championship game. Was teammates with Udonis Haslem, Mike Miller, Teddy Dupay, Matt Bonner, Major Parker. We had some great athletes on our team, Orion Green, just to name a few, though, even Justin Hamilton.
That's cool. And so tell me more about your experience out there.
What, during basketball or after basketball?
Like during basketball and after, right? So you were on a great team. I'm assuming a lot of your teammates probably went pro. Was that something that you wanted to do?
We had 5 players go pro. I mean, the experience was life-changing, though. I mean, we went to Europe, we went to Hawaii. As far as like tournaments, again, we won a lot of games, and it was just an amazing experience that I wouldn't trade for anything. I actually was doing engineering at the time and decided that I wanted to focus more on basketball than I wanted to do engineering, which kind of transitioned me after basketball. What I ended up doing was I got my undergraduate degree. I went back, got a master's in sports management.
Oh, nice.
I was like, man, I still want to learn. So then I went back and got an MBA. Then I was like, and I still want to learn. So I went back and got a master's in hotel management. And I was like, oh man, like I still want to learn. So I got a doctorate in business.
Oh, wow.
So I got 3 master's degrees and a doctorate though. So
That's impressive.
so yeah, that's what I ended up doing after basketball is that like my thirst for knowledge never changed for me, wanting to do engineering initially to, me just wanting to just have a thirst for knowledge in general.
That's fantastic, especially knowing that, a lot of athletes do change their major because basketball takes precedence, right? Like you say, you wanted to engineer, and then you say, "Oh, now I want to focus more on basketball," but you still found the will and the strength to go back and keep going with your education, which is fantastic. So when did you realize that you were not going to be playing basketball after college? What that look like?
Well, I messed my knee up back in high school, and I was able to play for several years, and then I always knew that it was going to possibly be a burden on me, and I didn't want to have that long-term issues where I got to roll myself out of bed and things like that. So I had to decide between like having a work-life balance as far as being able to do things other than just playing basketball and having to suffer, or deciding between having a good quality of life. And so it was hard walking away from basketball, but I enjoyed it. I loved it, but I just felt like there was a bigger picture for me.
That's awesome. And was that something that you were able to come to understand on your own, or did you have some support system or anyone that guided you to help you make this decision? Because it's not an easy decision to make when you're, a young person.
Well, it was easy for me because like when I messed my knee up in high school, like this was back in like 95 when I messed my knee up. So, the technology for, like the knees and stuff wasn't what it is now. So like just the rehab process, just the doctor was not positive. The doctor was like, oh, if you mess up your knee up again, you may never be able to play basketball again, or you may have issues down the road and da da da. There was no positive information about, like my knee. So in the back of my mind, I always, like had this, like little thing, the voice in the back of my head, like, man, what if I do mess my knee up? So I couldn't really play the way I used to play just because of what the doctor had told me and stuff. So it was kind of hard to overcome that. So in the back of my mind, I kept playing, but I know at any given day, what I'm saying, like that what the doctor said may be true, or maybe he didn't know, it was going to be true.
Yeah,
But I just had to make sure that I had an alternative in case that day did come.
that makes sense. That makes sense. And was it hard as far as I understand that you said, like, it was an easy decision from a point of view of understanding what your future would look like, having a life that you would still be able to move around, but from a mindset and an emotional perspective, was it also easy just because you knew what you were getting yourself into, or was that a little bit more difficult of the spell?
Well, it was hard to transition because obviously, being an athlete, like our competitive nature is probably, like something that people can't even understand unless you're actually an athlete though. So getting to the workforce was a transition just because I'm so passionate and so ambitious and so driven that
Hmm.
trying to, like go in and trying to rechannel that, the competitiveness stuff, everything to whatever work that you're doing,
Yeah.
and also still having the discipline because, like when you're an athlete, you have a coach stuff, everything telling you what to do. But when you don't have that coach and stuff, everything, if you don't have that self-discipline within yourself, I think that's what makes the transition hard, is that being able to become your own coach when you don't have a coach, what I'm saying, like pushing you and telling you what to do and
Yeah.
having to coach yourself and say, hey, listen, I got to get up every morning. I got to do this. I got to do that. I got to go to the gym because, like, again, we had people pushing us and telling us what to do. But if you don't have that will in yourself, then I think it makes it hard to transition because you don't have that person in your ear telling you, what you need to do.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it's also like not having your team around you, right? To support you, give you a high five, let you know, hey, good job. That for me at least, that was also something that I felt when I transitioned out of sports, just knowing that I'm out here by myself. Um, so other than the thing that you just mentioned, um, what other big challenges did you face when transitioning out? Did you know what type of career do you want to get into? Did you already know what you liked? Talk about that.
No, I mean, because I feel like I have so many different things I like, and I feel like, I was so versatile. I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do. I know I wanted to do something leadership wise. I know I wanted to, like make an impact. And so it was like, like really my degrees, when people ask me when I go to job interviews, I said, I didn't do this, to advance my career. I did this because this is a personal goal of mine.
Yeah.
Like at 12 years old, I told my mom I was gonna write a book. And I didn't know at 12 years old I was gonna write a book, but I mean, I finished my first book in 2012. And
Congrats.
and I'm working on my fourth one now. So it's just, like I go through and I told my mom that one day I was gonna be a doctor. I mean, I was thinking about engineering back when I was a kid and whatnot. I didn't think I was
Yeah.
gonna be a doctor. It's just a matter of just something that I just said. And I just, made it happen, as I got older.
That's awesome. So what kind of books did you write?
So they're all poetry though. So yeah, I think writing became like my outlet and stuff just because, as an athlete, I think we need a positive outlet and stuff, everything, outside of basketball. And for me, like writing just was kind of, that safe place that I can go to and just, just put my thoughts on paper or someone told me something and whatnot. And so I was able to channel that, that through poetry.
That's fantastic. Yeah, I definitely can relate. My channel is art. I paint, I do artwork, and that's how I balance my life while I was still playing. So I can definitely relate to using art as an outlet to express ourselves.
Mhm.
So if you have to look back, what do you consider your biggest success in your new career?
I mean, really, my doctor was my biggest thing though, just because, like I set out to do that and I had some challenges along the road. As far as like my research and then my individuals wanted me to change my research and I stayed strong to who I am as a person and I believed in my research. And so I think that was my biggest challenge, but also my biggest accomplishment, just because, once I finished it, I was like, wow, like I actually did this, so.
That's awesome. What was your research about? What was your thesis?
So my dissertation was on transformational leadership and its impact on employee empowerment, job satisfaction, and job performance.
Oh, awesome. Okay. That's great. So what do you do today? Like what is your day-to-day?
So now I'm actually trying to get into tech though. I'm transitioning from pharmaceutical, which a lot of athletes go into pharmaceutical sales or some type of
Mm-hmm.
pharmaceutical. But I want to get into tech though, so I'm actually studying now to get my PMP certification and doing the AWS like
Cloud.
computing thing, and then
Uh-huh.
also like I picked up this cybersecurity book or whatever too to take the CompT security exam. So again, like I said, I like to learn. So everybody's probably like, man, that's all over the place though, but I just don't want to go into a position where someone tells me that I can't do anything because I feel like I can do anything, I set my mind to.
Absolutely. No, that's great. Definitely let's keep in touch. I work in tech right now. So I may have some, recommendations or people that you can reach out to.
Oh, that'd be great.
Yeah, definitely. That's what we do, right? So the goal of Global Life, I don't know if you know much about it yet, but basically what we do is try to help athletes transition to life after sports. So trying to build this ecosystem that will allow athletes to find their path in a more sustainable way and in much less stressful and painful of a transition.
Yeah.
That being said, if you were to think back, what type of resources do you think would have been helpful to you as you were thinking about what to do after college?
I mean, I think there's numerous things. I think the biggest resource would be is to one to let an athlete understand like what it is outside of basketball and whatnot. I think because we have a basketball mentality or athlete mentality and all that stuff though. I just think that trying to coach them to understand, like for me, like just like you, like I know I was so good in so many different things, and because I feel like if I set my mind to do something, I could do it. So when you say, oh, just like you wanted to throw some out there and wanted to stick, it's not that we don't know what we want to do. It's just that because we are capable of doing anything. Again, if you say, hey, listen, build this project, we might not know what to do, but we're going to find a way to do it
Yeah.
because as an athlete, we couldn't make excuses up. You can say, oh, well, da 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 da, but no, coach will be like, no, like you got to find a way.
Yeah.
So, and even, like you said, the team aspect, you may not be able to get along with your teammates, but you want to find a way because we have a common goal, and that's to win, and that's to win championships. So I think that trying to transition that and understand outside of basketball, how you're going to be able to relate to people outside of basketball, and how can you take the skill sets from basketball and transition forward. So I think that the resource would be to kind of coach them. Hey, listen, I know you think like an athlete, but let's take these transferable skills as an athlete and apply them to a workforce or to something that you're passionate about. And
Mm.
then again, the skills will be transferable. Like I feel like as a person that sells and stuff, everything, like, I feel like you can sell anything. If you can sell a toothbrush, you can sell a car. It's just a matter of wanting to do it and finding a way of how the techniques and whatnot. So
Yeah.
like I think the thirst for knowledge and wanting to learn, I think helps as far as a resource. So if you have those people who have those, like those skill sets, how you gonna take those skill sets and say, okay, well, listen, you are good at this, this, and this. Maybe have you thought about doing this? Because like if you don't understand the skill set that you have, how you gonna really understand where you want to go and transition into whatever career that it may be, or
Yeah.
what makes you passionate? Because for me, like the reason why I want to get into tech is because again, I still have that thirst for engineering.
Mhm.
And I feel like that although I have all these degrees, I just haven't fulfilled that thirst of being like, you know what, man, I found my place, except for everything. Yeah, I have a good career, but I want to have an impact. So if you sit behind a desk and tell me working 9 to 5, it would be kryptonite to me because I can't do that. Like I'm a person who wants to learn. Like I need to be able to see that the fruits of my labor. When we go out and we work out and when we go and train and stuff, everything, the results of what we're doing and practicing shows on the basketball court.
Yeah.
I think that same transition needs to happen in the workforce because we need to be able to see that we're making an impact. That okay, well, I'm not getting up every morning just to pass the time
Yeah.
because that competitive nature, even though you think that it may be gone, it's in you and stuff, everything. I think that, and if you don't able to channel it and able to go through, that's why a lot of athletes, I think, like deal with depression, like alcoholism and drugs, stuff like that. It's because it's in you. So you just got to find a way of saying, okay, well, man, like, what am I going to do to take all this energy and all this stuff that I have and apply it to a positive aspect or to get past this mental block that I may have and get through it so I can get to the other side of it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I'm glad you brought up the mental aspect, right? Because while career transition is a big pillar, mental health is also a big one, right? Because I don't think we talk about it enough. But when you transition from being an athlete to life after sport, it's almost like a piece of you is taken away, like your identity. And it does translate into depression or alcohol abuse or, substance abuse, et cetera, et cetera. And so we want to make sure that athletes also have the right resources of mental health support, but people that actually understand the athlete, right? Because as a therapist, you can't go get therapy by everybody, right? So another big thing for us here at Global Life is really finding resources of mental health people that either wear athlete themselves or work with athlete and understand the mindset so that they can actually actively help them transition not just to the career but also in your mindset and your life, understanding that yes, the athlete life might be done, but the athlete is still in you. You can still channel that energy somewhere else. Like you said, we have a lot of transferable skills. We have a lot of, personality traits that translate into corporate or different skills after sports. It's just a matter of finding those within ourselves.
Yeah, and I think even when you were mentioning about, there's a lot of jobs that hire athletes. I think that some of them hire them just hire, and I think that there should be, programs within actually like these major companies that want to hire athletes to be able to understand. Because, for example, like I've been in situations where my manager didn't understand me, not because of, they wasn't a good manager. It's just a matter of like I was completely different from everybody else that was on the thing because there was no other former athletes on my team. So that competitive nature where I don't know how to lose, like for example, like if you say, oh, well, go home and stuff, everything, we can work on it tomorrow. No, I don't know what that is and stuff, everything. I'm gonna go because it's gonna bother me until I'm able to get this done. And so, it's obviously trying to have a balance, but like again, that competitive nature in us, it's like I don't know how to fail and stuff, everything. And if I do fail, I'm like Kobe and stuff, everything, like, hey, like it's not failing stuff, everything. It's a learning experience. And how am I going to get better in this aspect, though? So
Yeah.
I think that if you're going to hire an athlete, have some type of thing for them to transition for the people for them to understand. Because the worst thing to do is to be in a position where working for this company, you're an athlete, but then nobody understands you.
Yeah.
Because again, that messes your mental health and all that stuff, though. Because you're like, man, like I don't need, somebody to hold me and coddle me and stuff everything. But hey, listen, like this is what I need you to do, get it done, and then go through it, not just micromanage. Oh, you gotta do this, you gotta do that, because I mean, I know as in anything in sports and also and outside of sports, I don't like to be micromanaged because I know what I'm capable of doing. Just give me the project, and then if I need help, trust that I'm, saying come to help and all that stuff. Though, as opposed to being like, no, you're doing it wrong. Okay, if I'm doing it wrong, explain to me how it should be done. Or if I am doing it wrong, what is it that I'm doing wrong about it, as opposed to saying I'm doing it wrong and not explaining it. And
No
again,
feedback. Yeah.
exactly. And going back to the word coaching, coaching mean, okay, well, this is what we need to do in order to accomplish this goal, as opposed to like, no, you're doing it wrong and not explaining it so I can, get through again the obstacles so I can get to the other side. Because as an athlete, the thing we do is get the other side. We want to train, practice, to get the other side, which is winning and seeing the results of the product and the work that we put in.
No, 100%. You're absolutely right. And again, you keep touching on areas that global life is trying to do, right? But at the same time, the company needs to be prepared to know that, hey, I'm hiring a set of people that might not have the same experience as everyone else. So this is the route for them to make sure that we understand their needs, but at the same time, they actually have time to onboard and not just be thrown in the ocean and hope they can swim. So I'm glad I heard that coming from you, because it just reaffirms that, we're thinking about this the right way and we're going in the right direction.
And I mean, the analogy you use as far as like throwing us in the in the ocean and asking us to swim, it's not that we can't swim. It's just a matter of where we're going to swim to. That's the
Yeah.
thing. Just give us, what I'm saying, or where we need to go to, because I can swim all day, but if I'm swimming in circles, that's not productive
Eventually,
for myself. It's not
eventually you'll drown, right?
exactly. So again, like give me a goal, give me something that's attainable, and then it's fine. That's I mean, as an athlete, that's what we look for. We know that we needed to practice X amount of days, and then the goal was to train and to say, okay, well, this is our opponent, and then how we're gonna do this opponent. The same thing can come to projects as far as work or the task at work. Hey, listen, this is what I need you to do. I need
Mhm.
done by this right here, and go from there. And if you notice that skill set, I mean, a good manager stuff right there, obviously I think can manage anybody, but a good manager, but okay, well, listen, this person right here is different. I need to be able to put them, because again, as a coach, what do? They put their players in the best position to be successful and the best way for them to win. So, I mean, I think as a manager, that mentality, if you're gonna train managers, is to be able to train. How am I gonna get the best out of this person and put them in the best situation to make us successful and for them to be successful as well.
Right. No, absolutely. No, I love that. So if you were to give any advice to any current athletes, whether in college or professional athletes that are retiring, and start thinking about what comes next, what would your advice be?
I mean, one, I think to have an outlet. I think that if you have to have something that you're passionate about. I mean, it could be cooking, it could be again writing, it could be painting, it could be anything. But find something that when you have those days where you're like, man, like I'm mentally exhausted, I don't want to do this. Have something an outlet. Obviously, having a good support system too, like good friends, good family, and all that stuff though is I think essential. And for me, like you were saying with therapy and stuff, like I going with therapy, I think being honest with ourselves and stuff. And I think sometimes as being former athletes, like we start to lie to ourselves because of the fact that we're like, oh, well, I could do this and do that and do this and this and this without actually having a plan or not saying, okay, well, yes, I can do this, but what am I going to do to get this goal? Because again, we're not having someone in our ear all the time. Go harder. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
5 more shots, 10 more shots. You know what I'm saying? So to be able to say, okay, well, listen, like I don't have that. So what am I going to do to elevate myself when I don't have that support system around me, or when I'm having a day and I'm like, man, like what am I going to do? It's just being able to, again, find some type of peace within yourself to get to the next day or
Yeah.
get to the next step and whatnot, as opposed to just being there and moping and just like, oh, what am I going to do and whatnot. Again, we all have bad days and whatnot, but what are you going to do about that bad day? Is my bad day going to turn into a bad week? Is my bad week going to turn into a bad month? No, you got to break the cycle. So it's just like finding out, saying, okay, listen, like I know myself well enough to know that this is what I need to do to
Mhm.
get to where I want to be at, or to make sure that I don't find myself in this state. When if I do find this way of in a state of mind, where can I go to that's safe, where I can help, get me through this time or this process.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. That's great advice. And yeah, like having an outlet, I think also helps with your identity, right? Because you don't put 100% of you human into basketball, but you know there are other things that you have passion for and that you can go hard for. So yeah, I love that. And then I guess one last question would be for networking. How important do you think that is starting at the college level? Because especially now, the kids obviously they have a much better life than we did when we were in school, right? With
Yeah,
the
the social media and
NIL,
whatnot. Yeah.
social media, all of that, right? So building your network becomes a lot easier. But if I think back about, the boosters and folks that were supporting the team, I probably could have done some networking that might landed me a job a lot sooner in my, post-career, but never thought of it. Is that something that you've done or that you've seen, or what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that networking is extremely important. Like obviously just in everyday life, and not just a former athlete, but I think that obviously, being a former athlete, that sometimes, we get caught up in life. For example, you probably went overseas and some of your friends, that you played ball with, some teammates, you didn't keep in contact with. So
Mhm.
like you said, that the kids these days have a much easier thing because we didn't have social media. Like Facebook had just come out, what I'm saying, like when I was in college and whatnot. And so, and Facebook was good, but we didn't know how to use it as a resource. And
Right.
then, I was on LinkedIn, but like with LinkedIn, I just, had it on there just because I thought it was like another, thing. But like now I'm realizing the importance and the value of LinkedIn. Obviously, as a good networking tool. And I think 6 degrees of separation, like now when I go out and I talk to people on stuff, though, I own a marketing company down in Florida. Now I market attorneys and doctors. So, it's just a matter of, not bragging about what you do, but just a matter of, okay, well, listen, I might be helping you, might be able to help me because, like maybe you may be a mortgage broker. I may know a real estate person, but hey, listen, y'all might need to connect and stuff, everything, and building that network. So not that
Mhm.
it's just about you, but just building a network in general, so that if you have a situation, you can go back and lean on that mortgage person because you connect them with the real estate person and da da da. And so I just think that it's just important in general, yes, to have a network and just staying in contact. I don't think it has to be an everyday thing, but just making sure, like for me, I check on my friends every now and again, like some of my former teammates. I mean, like I'm doing this interview now because of BMAC. Me and BMAC
Mhm.
stay in contact and whatnot, since college. So again, that's a networking situation,
Yeah.
and that's how it goes. So
Yeah, no, absolutely. That was a good link right there. Um, I don't have any more questions for you. Anything that you would like to share or any advice that you might have for global life based on what you learned about what we're trying to do to help athletes?
no, I mean, I like what you're doing. I mean, I wish, that obviously that this was a platform that we had, 10, 15 years ago and whatnot, but it's not about, where you start, it's about where you're going though. So it's just a matter of, I mean, you have some start and hopefully, this thing, blows up and it actually becomes a network, where, people can come to get advice or to, again, have resources or have the network and all that stuff though, because I mean, I don't think there's enough of those, I don't think you can have too many of those because, there's so many different types of sports and so many different, what I'm saying, like, industries, stuff, everything to go through. So having this platform, I think is just, a good way to catapult into something much bigger.
No, absolutely. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. So I think that closed out our conversation. So thank you everyone for watching. You can watch the full video on YouTube. The article will be on LinkedIn, and we'll have snippet on Instagram as always. And if you have anyone, any athlete or any sports that you would like for us to talk to, shoot us a message and we'll reach out. Thank you and see you next time.